Looks like my typing didn't work.
Unless...
So. Oh, okay, we're queuing. All right. I was really confused. I kept typing in chat, and I'm like, why isn't it showing that I said ready? All right.
We
So
were
going into game 3, do you anticipate Mod Abuse can pull off the reverse sweep?
I'm going to give it to them for the reasons that I stated in the beginning. They have the momentum. Penny's a clown, that being the big, most important part. And the simple fact that, they're veterans. They're not going to be shaken by one game. That's just what we're looking at here.
All right, well, let's see what happens. So Slickens and Drosh going with the same strategy again. Slickens going to the Cartel. Drosh going to Greed. Penny and Julian changing it up. Penny has not chosen yet, but Julian goes for Castle. So already this is a different differentiation compared to what we saw on the first 2 games of this series. We see Greed Castle.
I love Greed. Greed is solid. It's a staple. But again, we're going to try the Castle. So obviously we want to go late, but we already lost with Castle from Julian. So let's see how that works. It's truly a bold strategy.
I don't think necessarily the Castle was the issue in the first game. I think it was more or less the Fiesta was the issue in that first game. So I think Castle is still fine, especially with a, relatively speaking, pretty strong unit in the POTA with Mask, right? POTA Mask setup is ungodly strong. Penny does have a couple different high worker push setups in the Bone Crusher, the Gate Guard, everything. Look at almost everything in his role allows for high push. He is going to go with the Bone Crusher with the Gargoyle strategy. So you can go 5 worker here without Ascend, but he does get a 20 here. 20s across the board, all king ups. We see 2 POTAs in this game, interestingly enough.
I think POTA is making a resurgence. It's an incredibly strong unit, but it did fade out there for a little bit. And I have been loving seeing it because it's such a fun unit. It's one that makes you sit on the edge of your seat.
I would argue POTA is very much similar to Bone Crusher. If you can understand the positioning and utilizing its regeneratory properties with its spell, it makes for some very interesting hold situations, right? You've got spots where the POTA will get down to just a sliver of health and just miraculously just tick on it through, right? And I think the same thing can be said about Bone Crusher. It's a very fascinating unit, and it can be utilized very well early to give you worker push.
All that being said, I think Penny's a little overbuilt for the normal Bone Crusher start.
You can get away with just the Gargoyle, but sometimes people go for the Bone Warrior down to ensure that they don't get bad RNG to the Snail. That being said, I have personally done it where I go Bone Crusher because I get a 20-on-1 with a single Gargoyle because it will hold the Snail, and you're then allowing yourself to shift for the Green Devil on 3, and then you have Green Devil 3, 4, etc. But Penny has the all-knowing Coiler, so he doesn't really have as many issues there with holding 3, 4.
Everyone able to do a 40 cent here if they wanted to. Just so far, Penny's the only one to opt into that.
Penny is the only one to opt in. It seems like he is the only one to go for the send here. We could see an after income send by Slickens and Drosh of a 60. That is in the cards. I'm interested to see, though, because Drosh was given a chance to go back-to-back Fire Elemental, right? And he was able to do back-to-back Fire Elemental in the first 2 games. This is the first game we've seen Drosh on something else, and it is the POTA. So I think this is going to be a little bit of a make-it-or-break-it game, showcase what you have here. You had a relatively speaking pretty safe and easy start, and now this is a start where you've really got to know how to build. You got to know what you're doing to be able to pull it off, right?
I love seeing the expertise and the splitting that we get out of these veterans, and the things that I learn. We do see a 40 DT there, meaning we might get maybe a double DT from Slickens.
Double DT and a Lizard. Interesting. So the Lizard is an idea, right? Because I personally think if you double DT, what happens sometimes is the second DT goes off in the split and it just goes la 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 down the side, and then the POTA never shoots it. But if you go a single DT, there's the potential for the DT to sit on the POTA, and only the POTA, and then the Lizard to also target the POTA as well, which can really damage down that unit, right? We did see the Green Devil coming out of Penny last wave, as well as him getting a Coiler here. Honestly, at the end of the day, the Dino is not my favorite send into this, because the Dino sits on the Bone Crusher for forever and allows the Gargoyle to just beat down on it, right? It's magic damage, and it does good damage to the Dino, and the Bone Crusher still lives.
It sure did survive. It blipped off the map for a second there, which is an interesting visual bug.
So what happens there is it died visually for us, but it didn't die server side, right? So it actually survived, but it shows the death. It's an interesting little thing that can happen. So that showcases it was probably living on 1 to 2 health, right? There isn't really a whole lot to worry about then, though, for Penny, because even then, if the Bone Crusher died, the Green Devil still had quite a bit of health, and the Serpent was still just chilling. It's crazy to me that we actually got a hold out of Julian as well. So Penny and Julian pushed pretty well. 7 workers apiece, Slickens on 6, and Drosh on 7. So all in all, pretty close game worker-wise, but we do see the Mythium advantage again sitting on Julian and Penny.
Julian and Penny are doing a good job of setting themselves up for another potential win here. I can't wait till the castle buff is activated to really see how that can skyrocket forward.
Well, at this current rate, Julian and Penny aren't going to see the castle buff. They're just going to go for the kill early. It seems like we might get a 7 send again, seeing that both Julian and Penny are sitting on a pretty healthy chunk of Mythium at 130 and 100 apiece. We do see Slickens and Drosh going for the brute snails here, which can be, relatively speaking, pretty formidable. But we do see the Deep Coiler and the Hellraiser. So, depending on how this Hellraiser gets aggro and how the POTA gets aggro, this can hold full. The POTA getting 2 units of aggro and then switching over after it kills and shooting at the units from the split. We're looking like it might be a small leak of the POTA, but very well could be close. Penny going to be very close to holding as well. Almost killing the brute. Half a second. Like, it was literally in the shooting animation and didn't go through.
It's so unfortunate. I love watching POTA get low, raise her health back up to almost full, and then just coming up short. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. We are looking at 180 Mythium now from Pennywise. Oh, and they are sending here.
They're going for the Et tu Brute special of triple brute and double brute. So that's a lot of friends here, my man. This is a whole bachelor party right now, and they're gonna go have a party on the town here in a moment. See if they can make it down to the king.
What we come here to see is the brute party.
The brute party is always the important one. Julian will, in fact, get another send of a brute as well. So it's gonna be triple brute, going into both Slickens and Drosh. We do see the snail going to be leading the charge here for Pennywise into Slickens, which at the end of the day is actually pretty nice because it does potentially distract something like the Daphne. But
and it did. It certainly did its job there. It took full aggro for a moment there.
The Bunk is doing a pretty good job here for Drosh of just delaying for a while and allowing the POTA to sit through. We do see one of the brutes that got aggro pretty early by the POTA and was taken down. The second brute on Drosh also shot down here. So Drosh might actually full hold this. It's always close with POTA, but
he's about to get her heal charge.
Yep, that's the heal, and that's the hold. Drosh doing a phenomenal job here getting a hold off. Very difficult whenever someone can have POTA and Bunk and Aqua, right? Like, all those 3 are phenomenal at tanking on this wave, dealing damage, and delaying for everyone to gain some value, right? We still are seeing Penny and Julian, technically speaking, in the worker lead here. Slicken's not able to push at all because of that large leak. So Drosh gonna have to carry the torch here. Slickens does push after income, but
you can't stop Slickens.
he's going to push anyway, right? But he pushed
Exactly.
after income, which isn't great, right? Like, you're missing out on quite a bit of time, right? Of push. And at the end of the day, Slickens is cartel, right? So if this game goes post 10, this could be problematic for him to push this much and not have the worker, excuse me, the income to support it.
I think Drash getting the bunk up that round really kind of saved them this game, so I definitely see this going at least to 10. I don't think it's over before then.
I think what will be really important here is if Penny and Julian can hold on 10. We do see the sends coming in, though, out of Slickens here, so it looks like they want the income here on 9. Drosh does have enough to go Poda upgraded to Aziria here, with 240 in the coffer and 110 in income. So we do see income out of Penny here. Julian opting to not income. Drosh going, not Drosh, Slickens going for the T1 cell into a Soulgate upgrade, which, technically speaking, Penny did kind of negate, right, with the Drake. But it's the question of, does the Pegasus and the gate allow time to ramp, right? Large send to Drosh and Slickens going after income to send the extra couple units. So let's see how Penny and Julian fare here.
Yeah, the Poda going down that early probably isn't great. I mean, it does have the Harbinger as backup, but the Brute is definitely going to be doing a lot of work here.
Yeah, the Poda going down that early, I think, kind of really hurts Julian. You kind of want your Poda to at least get one heal off and sustain for a little bit longer. 69% leak out of Julian. He did not income here. So, you know, that's kind of a potential reason why he leaked, right? Like, no income here is a potential big issue. Slickens did hold the Drake here, but not too much king damage at the end of the day, right? Like, you'll take that if you're Penny and Julian. You have some good Mythium sitting there on Penny, excuse me, on Julian, which he does dispel here on this wave. Both Julian and Penny going for the income sends. It seems like they want to go late with this one for sure with the castle.
Absolutely. It's an unfortunate answer back against Julian and Penny just because they were in the leads, so hard, but the lack of spending, the lack of income hurts them just a little bit in having their foot in the right place going into the second phase of the game here.
Well, and it's interesting to see here the brutes coming back out. Though, I guess if you really look at Julian and Penny, they don't have a whole lot for 10. Just because there's so many masks on Julian's side of the field, right? So much AoE, and the Poda's just bad here as well. But the Hellraiser does do good damage and get rid of a lot of the spam, right? And Julian not doing bad, all things considered, because of the fact he's got Poda Mask.
The
Penny,
early Brute snipe was very beneficial for him, for sure.
very much so, very much so. Penny is holding, it looks like. So, end of the day, you kind of expect Julian to leak, right? Julian is pretty behind just because he's Castle, right? Castle is the deciding factor of his build, and I think that's something you got to kind of keep in mind. He's always going to be a little bit behind early game, especially when he's playing against a Cartel and Cartel and Greed. That being said, we do kind of see an interesting setup here potentially forming. I think we end up seeing, GA Poda, so Guardian Angel Poda, allows Poda to basically come back to life and get an immediate spell, right? So you're gaining a ton of value on Poda to have Guardian Angel, especially if you can get this strong side, weak side setup going. And Julian is definitely a player that can manufacture and get that working. We do see a Guardian Angel out of Drosh, which I imagine will also go on the Aziria. He is not showing it here, and and his partner is also not showing it on the Soul Gates in the Hero as well. Penny ended up taking Hero. Let's see here what he ends up doing. So you'll see the Guardian Angel came because the Azeria to come back to life and actually do a little bit more. 11 is one of those waves where Azeria can get sniped pretty early, and without Guardian Angel it can be kind of a pain in the butt. But you have to also then sacrifice your entire build to hold at times.
It is unfortunate the Azeria does shine when everything is going well on this wave. The double gates for Slickens, though, I think that could end up being a little bit of the gate into the future for them. Julian with the was even in income as everyone else, but then the castle obviously just propelled him forward. Now, if he could catch up in workers, I think he'd be in very good shape. Drash with 18 workers, big push out of him relatively recently, as he was just sitting on 12, I thought.
He, I think, pushed a little bit. The thing I would worry about if I'm Drosh and Slickens is look at their value. Right? Their value is not great here. They are 220 under and 270 under. Penny and Julian have no real reason to worry about wave 13. You can maybe argue Penny is a little bit weak 13. But Julian's holding 13 no matter what. I think this game comes down to Ascend here on 14 from Penny and Julian, though we'll kind of see.
We are seeing a big send out of Drash and Slickens here. The auras and the imps to go along. The imps are going to... so they're going to Julian. I'm not sure I understand the thought process behind them, though.
I think the idea is get rid of the tanks, right? If you get rid of the tanks, then there isn't a whole lot stopping the POTA from dying. And that's the generalized idea behind sending things like that into POTA. That being said, Julian and Penny are fine king-upping here and going for the save, right? Like, I think they recognize the fact that there's a potential big send here, and they called this, right? Like, they saw this coming. And they said, okay, hit us. We're just going to king a little bit and not care.
It really was like a mild king push, too, because they only spent, 80 and 60 on king ups. Yeah. So they haven't even really touched their reserve.
And I think we'll see Penny leaking pretty hard, but the POTA does POTA things and is holding full. It's a little unfortunate that Guardian Angel got utilized this early because you'd love to see it in the split hold potential. That being said, the POTA will be full health when it gets down bottom. A lot of things are low down here, so we could see the POTA at least able to cover.
It needed to do better damage on the first thing that it targeted, just so that it could then target the other things that are low.
Yeah, they won't die, right? Like, at the end of the day, they're not dying. I think we see this going to 15 potentially. Nope, we are getting sends out of Penny here.
Double Ogre send so far, and then a Brute Snail to follow. So it's something, and the Brutes will definitely do their bashy thing on the smaller units, especially with the Soul Gates. However, the Hellgate upgrade is going to be very nice.
The Hellgate is always a positive when you can get it out early. I'm interested to see, because realistically, if I'm Penny and Julian, I don't want to send here. I would rather go something like 16. So this might just be a situation of we take what we can get and we go 16 or 17 or 18 now, right? Like, I think this is one of those situations. They understand that Penny just leaked hard. He's not very good now on the next wave or two. If Drosh and Slickens wanted to, they could have gone for a longer save, etc., and potentially change things up.
I think Slickens is a firm believer in the resends. So the Dino into King Ups is expected just because of how long their opponents were sitting on Mythium, but yes, the Dino is a little bit disappointing.
Dino just doesn't do enough, I don't think, and that's the big thing, right? We'll see now if Drosh even leaks. Again, POTA just doing things, right? POTA doing POTA things, just staying alive forever. It's bad on this wave in all ways, shapes, and forms, and it just still disgusting. Drosh getting a shutdown onto him, which does help Julian and Penny in this situation. You do see Slickens is pretty out of this game, which is good if you're Mod Abuse and Penny and Julian, because you do not want that gate setup to be able to prosper, right, in the late game. That swing of Cartel and Castle really does make a difference, right? You see it now in the scores here. Julian catching up slowly, Penny eclipsing Slickens. So we're kind of looking now at more or less a situation of when do Penny and Julian think they can get the kill shot, right?
Lot of spam coming out from Penny. I think that he's worried that there's going to be a send when I don't see anything coming at the moment.
I think the spam is more or less a situation where he's under here, 350, and he doesn't want to leak to a no send even, right? He doesn't want to leak, period. And if he can like hold himself from leaking to a no send, it's not too problematic then, right? I don't think we see the game go past 16 here. Both teams are very under. Both teams have about the same Mythium. I think now it's going to come down to what team can delay the longest in this wave, really. I don't see it lasting past 16 here.
I think that for as far down as Slickens is, he's looking pretty good 16 just with the Daphnes and the Hellgates, at least for a delay, but everyone is behind, as you said.
Interesting. Drosh and Slickens opting to not send here.
Yeah, they're feeling perhaps stronger than they are, and that's fine. I admire the gumption out of these two.
I think it's one of those things where they think that they can sustain here, but you know, I don't see it. The only way this goes okay is if the gates get enough time to ramp. But being by the fact that Penny Sui pushed with 39 workers to get a second send out, I don't see this going well. The imps are going to be enough to just rip through all of the gate build, and I think that's game. I think Drosh and Slickens had a miscalculation here in the sense that they thought they could hold, but Drosh is decent in terms of delay potential and like even potentially holding here, but I don't think that was the right call. 40% king
Julian
health. You're already
holding.
undervalue.
Julian holding and the 40% and king ups is not going to be enough for Slickens and Drosh, which is just unfortunate. So it will probably be GG to our veterans here.
I think if Drosh and Slickens sent here, that little bit of extra gold, that could have been the difference, right? Like that in itself, it was so close that if they would have just went for the send, I think on 15 or 16, excuse me, with Julian and Penny, they probably hold that. The gates got pretty close with a 62% hold leak. Drosh got to a 52% leak, right? You just need another 5%, 10% on both players, and that's full holds on, a full hold on king, right? Like, it was very close. Julian and Penny played that very well. I think Penny probably didn't want if Penny could get this game back, he'd look at 13 and be like, I need to do something differently. That was too much of a leak. But it happens, sometimes it's just one of those things. Your role doesn't allow you to do what you can there. But I think it was a good game overall. A good series. That's 2 reverse sweeps today. 2 reverse sweeps by our veterans in mod abuse. I think it's kind of what I would expect.
They made it very interesting. They had the first 2 games in the series were very quick, very decided, and then we had a much closer series to close it out, which made it very interesting.
When I think almost every single game that I have casted now so far in LAHL has gone the distance and been competitive, right? And I think that really showcases when you have 2 players, that are queued together, that are of similar strength to their opponents, the margins at the top of this game are razor thin. Absolutely razor thin. And I think that's something to keep in mind. Like I think a lot of people get super down by the fact that they're not able to push through that barrier to make top 100. They're not able to push through that barrier to hit 2,400 at the end of the season or what have you. But this game, when you get to that top edge, right, is so extremely competitive. And I think that's what makes it so incredibly fun. but also so incredibly hard if you want to make that push to be the best, right? Which I think is awesome, because it shows the depth in play styles, in player base, right? And I think that's kind of what makes this game great.
I fully agree. Been one of my favorite things to learn is looking at, as you said, the razor thin margins, what the difference between one Bone Warrior could have done to a wave in just a lay. So I anticipate great things from all of our players here, and I anticipate that we'll continue to see great matches from the best of the best.
I would have to agree. I mean, I'm just looking at leaderboards right now. Slickens is 10th overall in Elo. Drosh is 13th. Penny and Julian are 14th and 15th. Right? So, like, if you look at the ladder alone, you already know that's a high swinging game. But you look at the rest of the ladder too. Witterson's in LAHL, and he's the number one. Dan's is in LHL, he's number two. Aviator's in LHL, he's three. Shadow's four. Ashton, Joke are 7 and 8. Xfeed is in, which is X God's account, at 9. Slickens at 10. Lucy, Drosh, Burnt, Julian, and Penny and Green Spirit. Like of the top 16, only 2 are not playing currently in in LHL, right? So it just shows you how good the top handful of players are, and how crazy it is that that they're all so phenomenal at the game.